having a nice Saturday. My mother came in to visit, so we're having a good time.
That's great to hear. Being an Olympian for a different country other than the U.S., and since you wrestled in the U.S., what were your initial thoughts when you heard the IOC drop wrestling from the 2020 games?
I mean, I think I had a similar reaction to most people, which was shock and kind of disbelief. Actually, I've been working in a hospital, and I was at a lunch break, and one of my coworkers came up and said, "Hey, they dropped wrestling from the Olympics." And I said, "No way." I thought he was joking with me or that there was something. So I went and checked my phone, and sure enough, had about 20 text messages and 50 emails going crazy about what was going on. So it was really shocking to me, but I think that the wrestling community and the leadership that's happened has been very good at kind of getting on the ball and making the changes that needed to happen so we can get back into the Olympics in 2020.
You've had a very, very decorated career being from Canada and being able to wrestle in Stanford University. How has wrestling helped you become the man that you are today?
Wrestling is my passion for sure, and but also I tell kids this all the time, is that wrestling will end for everybody. Competitive wrestling is going to end. The end of wrestling came for me a little bit later than most people, but most people are done wrestling by the time they're in high school or college. And I tell them all the time, the most important thing you can take away from the sport, and the thing that I value the most, is those life skills and those character traits that are going to help you be successful. And I say, you guys have every wrestler has overcome adversity, has pushed through tough situations, has set goals, has made sacrifices, and those are all, very important skills that you need to be successful in life. And I'm very thankful for the sport, and I discovered it, kind of stumbled upon it at a young age.
I believe I'm going to be quoting the Brands brothers that say, "I don't want to be the one to tell that kid he can't compete in the 2020 games for an Olympic gold." What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's a tragedy, and that those kids. I've been helping out at some youth wrestling clubs in the area that I'm living, and there's 8 to 10-year-olds that want to wrestle in the Olympics one day. And for them to not be able to have that dream, they watch the Olympics on TV. That's one of the coolest parts. That's probably one of the coolest, I think, in my mind, it's the coolest sporting event in the world. And I remember watching it when I was a kid on TV and thinking how awesome it would be to be there. For them to think that, well, I can't do it in wrestling is horrible. So I'm really hopeful that the IOC changes its mind in September.
We're going to take a break from the questions here, and we're going to do a great giveaway. It's a Cliff Keen National Duels t-shirt provided by Cliff Keen Athletic. Who did Matt beat in the 2004 NCAA Finals for his national title? Be the 10th person to email me at dj@radionova-spain.com, and you will win a Cliff Keen National Duels t-shirt provided by Cliff Keen Athletic. If you could tell the youth one thing right now, what would you tell them to help stand up and support wrestling?
The youth, you said?
Correct.
I would tell the youth that they have to love the sport. I tell them that for their own, but I think it's important also for the IOC, is if they love the sport and they can get some of their buddies or some of their classmates at school to come join it, and then make them aware about that, then there's going to be more people, more voices that are telling the IOC that they need to change their mind. So the kids today, I would say, love the sport even more, because it's going to help you be more successful in wrestling. But then go tell one of your friends who you think you can beat up at school, and have them come out to a wrestling practice one day.
We have an email coming in from John, who's a coach. He wants to, actually, it's kind of a quote that one of his wrestlers decided to quit because he couldn't compete for a gold medal. What would you tell that kid?
I would say that most kids aren't even with the Olympics. There's only a dozen people or 20 people in the weight class at the Olympics in the whole world. So there's millions of wrestlers around the world, but when it gets down to the Olympics, there's only 20 left that are going to be competing, and all those people trying for the sport is more important than actually getting there, because it's like I said before, with the life skills and learning what's important. Just because you can't get to that highest goal, there's still a lot of achievements that you can have. Being a state champ is pretty cool. Going to college on a scholarship and getting a college education because you wrestled, that's really cool. Winning a national title in college, that's even better. So just because maybe the Olympics aren't in sight doesn't mean that there aren't other goals. So I would tell them that, right now at that age, your goal maybe in the back of your mind is the Olympics, and it might still be there. By the time they get out, the Olympics might be back. So you should do the work now so that then you're ready to take advantage if the Olympics gets back in.
You've had a very, very decorated career. How did you come to wrestle the United States wrestling, but being a Canadian Olympian?
Yeah, I get asked that all the time. So actually, my mother's Canadian. She grew up in my parents met and were married in Canada, and then shortly before I was born, they moved to Oregon, which is where I went to high school. So, just having parents that were Canadian gave me dual citizenship, and so when I graduated from college, they contacted me and I contacted them, and we were it was a great fit. I'm very thankful for Canada Wrestling. They were super supportive of me. I would never have placed fifth in the Olympics without all the support and the coaches, Dave McKay, my training partners from there.
I brought on some female wrestlers as well, and Matt Valenti kind of noted on that female wrestling is going to be vital to get back in the wrestling due to what the IOC looks for in sports, gender equality and stuff like that. How do you feel about female wrestling being a pioneer to help get us back in?
I remember I've been around the women's wrestling program when I was at Stanford. Patricia Miranda was a teammate of mine. She was the first ever Olympic medalist from the United States. She won a bronze in 2004 at the 48 kilo, the lightest weight category. And Patricia's a good friend of mine. I actually just saw her a couple weeks ago. And so I've been around women's wrestling for a long time, and I could see that the youth girl wrestlers, the youth they're gonna grow the sport even more and make it even more popular. So I think it's a great thing, and I think that the more we can, grow the sport and make it opportunities for girls to get into girl wrestling programs is good. It's good for the sport.
Do you believe that, all these people who say that women shouldn't do this is just kind of being hard-headed a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's just kind of the old school mentality, and I think honestly that it just takes time, and it's going to slowly change. And they just added women's boxing to the Olympics in 2012, which is the new sport in 2012, and in some ways that's probably a little bit more kind of violent, punching people. So, I think it's on the spectrum, wrestling is, and that the mentality is gonna change to where it's gonna be more socially acceptable. And when that happens, I think there's gonna be more girl wrestlers that are gonna want to try it.
If you could tell another big question is the new rules. What do you think about these new rules that FILA implemented a couple of weeks ago?
It's funny because they changed the rules end of 2004. I graduated college in 2005, and then I retired in 2012. So I literally wrestled the 8 years that they had these 2 out of 3 period rules, and with the leg clinch. And I kind of wish that I could have wrestled now, because I think that it's a more traditional, more straightforward. The better wrestler is probably more likely going to win now, because you don't just have somebody going all defense and hoping for a leg clinch and to get lucky and win, which you see that happening a lot.
Because
I think now.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because wrestling is not such a great, spectated sport, do you think it would make it be easier for viewers to watch? End of 6 minutes, the person with more points wins?
Yeah, I think, they're going to, like my relatives, all my relatives in Canada, they think the leg clinch is absolutely crazy. They have no idea. It just doesn't make sense to them. Now if they go watch the match, it'll make sense. He scores more points, he wins. And but when you say that it's not well spectated, or there's not too many spectators, it depends. The Olympics are sold out in wrestling. It's hard to get a ticket. The world championships, depending on which country it's in, are very well attended. If you go to Iran, it's going to be a sold out arena. So, it's maybe less popular in the United States as a spectator sport, but in other areas of the world, it's very popular. And I've seen that because I've wrestled over there, and it's pretty neat.
Oh, we're going to do another giveaway provided by Cradle Gear, one of their signature shorts. In the 2012 Olympics, you wrestled a certain wrestler. Be the 7th person to email me. Tell me who Matt wrestled in the quarterfinals of the 2012 Olympics at 74 kilograms, and you'll be a brand new owner of Cradle Gear shorts, creating a legacy. Matt, we have another email coming in. Actually, no, this is actually more of a shout out. This is coming from I believe a camper of yours named Shannon, and she says, Matt, I want to thank you for all the time and support that you have given me, helping me through my wrestling, and it's great to hear you on Radio Nova talking about something that I love personally. I want to thank you for all the time and support you have given me.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for the, I love I love wrestling, and so I love sharing what I've learned.
All right, Matt, I can't thank you enough for your time. You got anything else for our listeners?
I would just say, any of those kids out there, I said it once, but your job is to love the sport. Because if you love the sport, you're going to get better every day. If you get better, you're going to start winning. And when you start winning, it feels good, and you start loving the sport even more. I would say, I say this a lot to kids, but you can always get better. I had so many setbacks in my career. I'm on this radio show because I'm a 2-time Olympian and NCAA champ, but I had a ton of setbacks in my career. But I always stayed positive and kept focused on getting better. And it took me a long places, even though I had the same setbacks that other people did. And I just never let it deter me. And I think that's so important because, along the way, you're going to learn those life skills that we talked about. But thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and good luck with the rest of your show.
Matt, I can't thank you enough. If we need you again, will you make another appearance on Radio Nova?
I'd love to. That'd be great.
All right, Mac. We're going to get back to
the music. You guys, if anybody else has questions, I love helping. So, gentrywrestling@gmail.com. That's all it is.
All right, Matt. Thank you for your time. We're going to get back to the music right here on Radio Nova.